Facebook started here. Hey, our YouTube. Hey, everyone on YouTube and Facebook this week. We are chatting via road trip this week. Hey, I'm Darren Fink, and driving next to me and concentrating and going to be intermittently talking is Margie Fink, new executive director of adoption. We're joining you for our Monday caregiver check-in. Hope that everyone's doing well. We are traveling back from a convention that we were just at, so if things go wonky or crazy, it's because there's some tropical force, and I'm trying to balance everything here. Through Nashville rush hour traffic. So, yeah. But anyways, as everyone knows, this is our time of the week for you guys to check in, to say, hey, just for us to see how everyone's doing and make sure everyone's doing okay so that we can go through another week of taking care of the kiddos in our care. So at any point during this, if you have something that you would like to share, tips, advice, anything, if you have questions, please, we're watching the comments on Facebook and YouTube. So this is your time. Margie and I will talk and mediate, and we will try to answer your questions. So here we go. Let's see here. I'm going to get some sound issues under control here. Is everyone doing good? Who started school already? Does anyone have kids that started school already?
Our kids just started today.
They did. They just started today, and I believe they all had a good time.
We've heard from 2 of them.
We've heard from the 2 high school kids, and they had a great day. So that's great. So how did your first day of school with your kids go? Did everyone go well, do well? Did everyone talk to the teachers well? Everyone play nice? I hope so. I really hope so. So last week, if you don't know, like I did say, this is your time to talk. So we are watching the chat channels on Facebook and YouTube Live, and we'll be watching them after the live show too. So if you have any questions or tips or anything like that that you want to share after the live show,
feedback from any of the discussion that takes place.
If you have any feedback, we will watch it and we'll answer it and make sure that we get to it. Yeah, to go ahead and put that. I'm watching. We're always on Facebook and we're always on YouTube. Those are the 2 channels we're always on. If we have the time, we get on Twitter and Instagram, but obviously from the road, we are only on 2 channels. So bravo to everyone that's able to join us on these. Last week, we had people that were talking about quite a few issues, but one that we left on and said that we were going to talk about was going to be the whole topic of what do you tell a teacher when you're taking your kiddo to school. So what do you need to tell your child's teacher? How much information is too much information? What is, or what's not enough information? What things should you be sharing? Who should you be sharing it with? So as people are logging on here and getting ready for this, I would love to know what you share with your teachers. What do
Obviously,
without breaking any confidentiality or anything, what do you share with your teachers? What information should what other information should people be sharing with teachers when they're getting kids to school? Would love to hear what you do. Margie, what do you think we should share? What are like top 2, like easy 3 things?
Okay, so one of the things I shared last week is I said, sometimes you don't even have to say exactly what your child has gone through, but just that your child has experienced maybe severe developmental trauma, and give the teacher some information about how trauma impacts the brain and learning. Because oftentimes as caregivers, we think that educators have been educated in trauma and how it impacts the brain. One great book, if you can share it with teachers, obviously they're not going to be able to just read it at the beginning of the school year because life is nuts for them. But Help for Billy is a great book to kind of show. It's also a good book for you to kind of look in to learn a little bit more if you're not real familiar with trauma and how it impacts kids in the classroom, and how you can help the teacher understand some of that. Another thing would obviously be if there's any danger to the child or the student themselves or to other students. Obviously, that's something that needs to be shared with teachers. If the child is
a danger to themselves or someone else.
Yes. So if there's any suicide risk, if there's any risk of rages where they might harm another child, if there's any risk of sexually acting out, if there are any safety plans instituted either by yourselves or your caseworkers or therapists, those are obviously very important for the school to know.
Right, and I'm putting that link for that book, Help for Billy app. That's one that you've reviewed before, Margie, right?
Yes. And then you said 3 things. A third thing would be any coping skills or just different things that you know to help your child. So like we've shown in the past couple of weeks, Dalton's new jewelry that he loves and how it's really helping him. So obviously that's something that we're going to send him to school with. But that's helpful for the teacher to know what that is and that is a tool. If they, have a certain thing that helps them calm, helps them regulate, that's a good thing to share with the teachers.
Right. So, yeah, again, as people are joining in here, we are obviously doing the show from the road. We were in Dallas. We have so many places that we're heading on the road right now. We were in Dallas. We were joining. Hopefully, some people in here will be checking in periodically from the LeakyCon convention that we met this weekend, which is a huge Harry Potter themed convention. And the people wonder why foster adoptive parents and other professionals wonder why we go to those, and that's because, as it turns out, a lot of people want to help foster and adoptive families, and going to these conventions, we find, is a way to think outside the box and to get people involved and helping caregivers.
And without fail, we meet lots of caregivers. We meet lots of professionals in the field. I think this weekend we talked to someone from basically every arena, from CPS investigations to legal departments to caseworkers to people that actually work with the birth parents to try and preserve the in-home placement so that they do not have to be removed from home. All different kinds of professionals, therapists, everything. We spoke with a lot. Part of our other reason for going is we found so many people are just interested in helping caregivers so that they can better take care of the kids in their home. So we found passionate people in all those different areas this weekend, and we're hoping now that we've expanded some of our reach.
Yeah, and so we're on our way now, actually, to Knoxville, Tennessee. We're going to be doing some meetings on our way to the next convention that we're doing in Baltimore, Maryland, before heading home. So we're doing this live from the road in Nashville. We're actually going through Nashville right now. Nashville-ish. But anyways, yeah, so the questions that we have that we left off last week, we're talking about kids' schools and what are you doing for your child's school? What information are you telling the teacher? And Margie, just to reiterate, was talking about a book called Help for Billy, which Help for Billy is a fantastic book to give. It's good for you to go through. I put the link in the comments on Facebook. It's a great book for you to go through, but it's also a great book to give a teacher and obviously give them some time to get the school year started, but allow them to know that it helps them to know how to help kids from trauma be successful in the classroom. Oh, wow. Christina says she lives outside of Nashville. That's awesome. We'll wave at you while
we're on I-40 somewhere right now.
We're on I-40 at somewhere on our way toward Knoxville, and that's your wave. So, Yeah. So, what other things do you tell your teachers, or what do you do? Margie also mentioned a little bit ago that the jewelry that we've been showing you guys that our youngest son has, and that's from Arc Therapeutic. Those are game changers for the classroom because it helps your kids to settle down and be able to focus. And again, we have 20% off. There's a coupon code that Arc Therapeutic has given only our parents. Hey, Bryant. Only our parents and fans. And it's go to arctherapeutic.com, put in coupon code TRANSFIG, TRANSFIG 20. TRANSFIG 20, the number 20. So definitely do those. Those are some game changers. Yeah, Christina says it's a bad time of the day to travel. Yeah, we really didn't have a choice. We left early this morning from Dallas, and we are due to be in Knoxville as soon as we can.
We wanted to leave it a little bit earlier, but you kind of have that push-pull of like, how early do you get up and then be really, really tired on the road?
Exactly.
So it's a 12-hour drive, so we're going to hit something somewhere, but Nashville's not the place to hit at rush hour.
Christina says on Facebook, she says that she's found that the seats they set on, sometimes a teacher will let them use those fidgets without an IEP. Yeah, you know what? That is like a newer thing, I think, that teachers will let kids, like leg fidgets, like so that they can do something. I think it's good for any kiddo because, especially depending on the age, they just have a lot of energy, and they just need.
And there's, just in general, there's less and less time in the school day allowed for movement, so and for sensory input, and so. We've educated teachers before on how, even just not for our kids, but for all kids, a sensory break of just, stopping every once in a while and allowing a little bit of some type of movement to get some sensory input. Or, it can be great when a teacher allows for different types of tools to be used by everyone in the classroom so no one feels singled out. Our chair leg fidgets that we've shown can be really helpful depending on the type of chair in the classroom. I've known teachers to say that they just have a box full of different types of sensory tools in the back of the classroom and leave it open that any child can go and get one when they need one. And that, for the most part, they don't abuse that, and they do learn how to have the self-awareness to go get what they need when they need it to be able to focus.
Yeah, I think it's really great when the teachers allow the kids to be able to use those things. I think it's great when they. I think it's unfortunate. I think I'm hearing more and more as we're going to conventions that teachers are being made more aware of sensory needs. That there's so many times where the teachers aren't, and I think we have to understand as caregivers that
trauma and how it impacts learning.
Teachers aren't given tools. They're not told how to handle things in the classroom as far as trauma behaviors and different things like that. So
it's how trauma impacts learning. Basically, quick and dirty on that is that our kids, when they've had trauma, their brain will switch to what's called the primitive brain, which is the bottom part, the back of the brain, that basically is survival, and that's where a lot of times they're functioning if they're in that fight, flight, or freeze. So whenever they get fearful, that part of the brain turns on, and the front part of the brain, which is what they call executive functioning, that's where logic and reasoning and learning and memory and everything takes place, that is shut down. So if your child ever has to, if they've ever dealt with hunger, their blood sugar is more susceptible to crashing, every couple of hours, and they don't realize it, but they're scared because they're hungry, and they don't even necessarily know that, but their body is telling them basically they're going to die, and so they can't learn. So there's a lot that teachers aren't really made aware of, and all they see is bad behavior. But the reality is the child really doesn't have the control of what's happened in their brain chemically and physically to be able to control that behavior. And so they need the right tools, and they need the right understanding and help from the educators to navigate that.
Christina on Facebook says that We have even bought keychains they can clip on pants to keep with them that are things they can squeeze. And that's a really good idea, I think, too, because that's something that they can keep by their side at all times.
It doesn't make noise. It doesn't draw a lot of attention.
I think that's one thing that I think with fidgets and different things like that, I think that's the thing that the teachers have the roughest time with is in the classroom, obviously, you have to have some sort of order and some sort of attention to allow class and learning to happen for everyone. So I think that's the hardest part and the most negative thing we found with fidgets is that people, hey, Wendy's joined us.
Well, if you have proper fidgets, a lot of people don't understand that fidget spinners are not necessarily, they've been kind of popularized and trendy, but they're not necessarily what most therapists or professionals would consider a true fidget. They can be very distracting to others and even to the child themselves, especially the ones that light up and make noise, those kinds of things.
Right. Well, and so here's the thing is I think, the big thing for fidgets is to make sure that they're not distracting in the classroom. But just because a fidget is distracting, like I know they have the spinners, I don't think that means that you discount them completely for your child to help them.
That can be very helpful in a doctor's office.
A doctor's office or a living room or and that's where I know we've done a fidget drive before in the past and people have really, hey, Brian, glad you could join. And I know people have really knocked fidgets and said that fidgets are horrible because they're distracting, they're no good. But
people haven't generally been educated about all the different types of fidgets.
Right. Well, and they're assuming that it's the classroom only. Is what I'm getting at.
Yeah,
it's like
sensory tools.
They're assuming that they only use them in the classroom when they're saying those things, and then they're saying like the fidget spinners are horrible because they're distracting. Well, in a doctor's office, they're supposed to be distracting. They're supposed to be giving sensory input. They're supposed to be making noise. They're supposed to be. You want your child distracted and having their attention to be on that fidget and not interrupting other people and causing like chaos and like. That's what it's supposed to be doing. So I don't think that's a problem that a fidget is making noise or distracting or toy-like. It's when it's in the classroom. You can't have that in the classroom. So I think that's something that people fail to look at because I know that the fidget spinners get a bad rap. I know you don't like them so much. But I think they're okay as long as they're in the right atmosphere, in the right...
Well, it's not that I don't like this. They are not. They just don't work for the classroom.
They just don't work for the classroom. So what is your opinion? We're talking about, so going back to recap, we are talking about what do you do in the classroom for your teachers. We said we'd talk a little bit more about that, about what information do you tell teachers, what's too much, what's too little. Margie shared a little bit at the beginning about what things that she would tell a teacher. And then we kind of went into, we're talking about Dalton, again, having his jewelry toy and just talking about strategies to the teacher of things that work, being jewelry being one of them, allowing him to have that. And again, 20% off at ARC Therapeutic Transfig 20 for your jewelry toy.
Or pencil toppers or several other sensory tools that can be used in school.
Do you guys use any? Christina said something about using the seat fidgets, a keychain on her child's pants.
Something to squeeze.
Yeah, something to squeeze. What are things that you use? I'd be interested to find out more about what other people are using. Looks like maybe Facebook. Is everyone still there on Facebook? I have frozen up. I don't know if it just might be me. So let's see here. I'm interested to find out more about that. I'm interested to find out like what trying to reconnect.
Several other sensory tools that can be used in school. Still good on YouTube?
Still good. YouTube. How's everyone doing? We're sorry, we lost Facebook. We're trying to get Facebook back here. They're trying to reconnect. We'll see if they can reconnect with us. So, yep, it looks like Facebook just came back. Okay, fantastic. So what do you guys do for school? What do you guys do when your kids come home? Do you guys do anything for your children when they come back home? Like, are they scared? Are they nervous? Like, have they, like, usually kids just want to unwind and, like, do you do anything for your kids or do you give them their space? I'd be interested to find out about that one too. Post-school routine. What is your post-school routine? What do you do on that one? Oh, Christina came back. Good. Sorry, you guys. We're going through Nashville, and I guess we kind of lost connection here for a little bit. One thing that Margie had mentioned was, oh, it's trying to reconnect again. Really? Going through. One thing Margie had mentioned was the book Help for Billy. That's a fantastic book. I'm trying to think of some other ones. There are some other ones. The author always escapes me, and I can't think of her name. But she does a book called Kitten, and it's a fantastic book about a little kitten that's been put into. I don't know if they talk about him being put into care, but they do talk about the fact that he's been taken away from his father, and they do portray that his father has been basically maybe that he's a drunk. It's alluded to. But anyways, because of that, there's just some weird, like, Kitten has some feelings, and he's trying to figure out what the feelings are about being away from his dad or being with it. Like, how I think that relates to school is our kids probably have a lot of feelings going on at school. And I think that would be a great book for, especially if you have an elementary school age child, to be able to go through with that child and say, what feelings do you think you have right now? And being able to work with them on that. But I'm interested if there's any what you guys do post-school with your children. Especially I know we're actually waiting, probably after this, I'm going to talk to our youngest son and see how he did at school. Since we're on the road, we didn't get to be there for our kiddos' first day of school, with their permission, by the way. We asked them if it was okay if we
They basically said, well, Jasmine said, been here every other year, we'll take pictures and send them to you. Grandma got this.
Right, so our kids gave us permission to go on these trips real quick and said that they'd be cool. But we called back to our kids, and that this year that was our post, what we did with our kids, because we wanted to find out how their days went. It sounded like they went great. But again, they're in high school, so I'm curious what people do. Our other child is in middle school. I'm not sure. Obviously, since we're on the road, it's not going to change a whole lot. I did notice that you were very intentional today about saying that you were proud of them. Like, and making sure that you knew that they were proud of them. And then post-school, hearing whatever they said, Margie was very intentional about saying that she was proud of them for going to school. And I noticed that she was very, like, the preschool, like, I'm proud of you, and then after you get home, no matter what the day was like, I'm proud of you. So I think that's really good for our kids. I think that sets them up for success.
With the high schoolers, we were talking, like, were there any issues, and then helping them, because they're in that transition period, helping them learn how to kind of navigate issues that do arise at school and advocating for themselves and saying, okay, if this continues to be a problem, this is how we problem solve that problem.
Right. So, yeah, I totally agree with that. Again, Facebook is having issues connecting again. Sorry, guys. But yeah, I think the advocation is very important, because I think you have to be able, like, our kids they don't have the, what's the words I'm looking for? They don't have the life experience to figure out certain things. And so they really need that help to figure out, like, how do I work through this issue? How do I do this? And how do I make the right decisions? And so, or they might not even see that they need to make decisions. So that really helps them just to be able to walk through things, not give them all the answers, but just help them, like, think through certain things so that they maybe are more successful, you think? Yeah? So, hey, Tom Blevins, we are on our way to Knoxville. But yeah, so I know that with our kids, especially, we did that. We were trying to show them like how they could advocate for themselves. I know one kiddo was having trouble because they were marked tardy a few times. They're not. I mean, it's the first day of school, so they're not really doing anything with tardy today. They're just getting kids, especially incoming freshmen. They're just giving them the practice they need. But just even telling them like this kiddo, like you can ask teachers if you're having trouble getting from one place to the other. You can ask people like what's the best way to get from one class to the other so you're not tardy. Other students. If the hallways are too crowded, again, like they're new to the school, so it's good to ask questions. Also, the other thing we were telling this kiddo too is they were like telling us how nervous they were today, and just telling them how other kids are probably feeling, and that other kids are probably nervous, and explaining how other kids might show that they're nervous, and like saying some kids might be mean because when you get too nervous it might just burst out as like a mean word or not helping you, or some kids might get withdrawn and not want to talk to you, and just basically kind of going through some ways that kids might be shown nervousness during the first day of school, so that child knew like they weren't the only one nervous. And because when you go to school, not everyone's going to go, hey, I'm really nervous. Are you nervous? Yeah, I'm nervous too. Especially in high school, it's not the cool thing to do, right? So let me know. Again, we are talking from last week. People wanted to talk about what to do at school and what information to share at school. With teachers. About the child's past. What do you think people should share with the teacher about their child as they're starting the new year? Margie, at the beginning of the talk, said that probably need to share that your child has come from a traumatic past. Maybe not necessarily needing to share all the information about like the trauma in their past, but nonetheless telling the teacher to let them know that child has come from a traumatic past.
Giving the teacher a little bit of education on trauma and how it impacts learning. Second, if there's any kind of safety plans or any kind of safety concerns for the child or for others they interact with. And third, what is successful with that child as far as if there are certain sensory tools or certain coping skills or different things that the teacher can help them implement.
Is it too much? Do you guys think it's too much information to share? How much of your child's history do you share with the teacher? Like, if there's substance abuse, do you share with the teacher that there's been a history of substance abuse in the birth home?
Essentially, I mean, it depends. It depends on where the child is in the flow of whether they're in foster child, still in foster care or adopted, or how. But especially if there was any prenatal or if there was any suspected prenatal exposure, that's something the teacher should know.
Right. So what I'm hearing you say is if it affects the way the child behaves?
Yes.
So what if that,
Or they're learning.
Or they're learning. How do you know if it affects their learning? What do you think about that? I'm not just asking Margie, I'm asking everyone. How do you know if behavior affects their learning?
Exposure.
Yeah, with exposure.
So, some of it's going to depend on fetal alcohol, exposure to alcohol can impact certain skills. Specifically, math can be a real struggle for children who are prenatally exposed to alcohol, for example.
Right. So, I'm curious too. So, substance abuse. What are some of the other big ones? I know, like physical abuse. Do you share that there was physical abuse in the home, or is that one that you just say that this child came from a traumatic background, and you don't share things like like that?
Well, obviously, if there's something that's going to trigger the child, that's important to know too. So, if there was physical abuse, and depending on the child's age and what might be discussed in the classroom, or be we've had situations in the past where like a history teacher will say, we're going to watch this movie in history class, and there's some physical violence, or there's a, and so there needs to be a good education between the teacher and the parent as far as what might trigger a child, without, you don't necessarily have to go into a ton of detail of what happened to the child, but just letting the teacher know these are specific things, like if a child is medically fragile and they've spent a lot of time in the hospital or something. I've seen this happen with kids where they spend a lot of time in the hospital, and then something gets talked about at school about hospitals or doctors or nurses or blood being drawn or something, and the teacher just didn't think about the fact that that was going to be a major trigger for that child.
Christina said, make sure that the teacher knows it's normal for kids who've been moved a lot, that they're behind developmentally 6 months for every move. So my son has 6 moves in 1 year. By age 4, was developmentally more like 2 years. This was hard in kindergarten. Yeah, absolutely. And I think...
and they tend to emotionally be about half their chronological age. So a 10-year-old might behaviorally be a lot more like a 5-year-old, react emotionally a lot more like a 5-year-old. And that is perfectly normal for our kids because of what they've endured. It's important for teachers to know that trauma impacts cause and effect thinking. So things like behavior reward systems, a lot of schools are all about that positive behavioral incentive system, PBIS. And they get really excited that they're doing PBIS without understanding that for a child from a traumatic background, their brain literally is not wired to understand cause and effect. So some of those punishment reward systems, either whether it's negative or positive, do not have any impact on our children's behavior. They cannot understand it because, as an infant, they cried, and one day they were fed, the next day they were smacked, the next day they were ignored. There's not been consistency. So they have not, their brains literally do not understand cause and effect. So it's not going to impact their behavior doing those punishments and rewards. So teachers need to understand that.
And I think it's important for like what Christina's talking about, like with just the developmental delay and different things like that with the moves. I think it's important for teachers to understand that because it can be easy for our kids to be labeled as behavioral problems when really they're not behavioral problems. They have other issues going on, and they really need help to get through that. And like what you're talking about with cause and effect, Margie, like they need help. They just need a different way of the teacher reacting to them. And once that teacher has that, they're going to have a whole different relationship with this child. But until then, the teacher's going to see this child as a behavior problem or something bigger going on and not know what to do with it.
They also haven't learned how to regulate their emotions and to self-soothe. So whereas other kids can calm themselves down, our kids often need help settling down and they'll escalate and they can't bring themselves back down like a typical child because they didn't have that interaction with their caregiver to learn to soothe themselves throughout those early years or whatnot. So
and let me look here. We do have, I'll see if we have it on our website. We've been in the process of trying to make this book of different little pretend creatures that Margie and I actually used with our kids, and they have therapeutic activities to go along with them to give your kids, to help play with your kids so you can bond with your kids, but also to give them tools like for helping them to calm down and regulate themselves. And we have one of the activities that would be great for you to practice at home with your child, which they might not necessarily be able to take into the classroom, but it would help at home. And anything you can do to help at home is definitely a plus. But it's a little creature that lives in the water. And I'm going to try to put the link up here. And what's fun about these little creatures that we've created on our website are that you can read through the character and have fun pretending with your child and just reading together. and then you can go through the activity together. And so you can talk about that. And the more, this is especially great for younger or middle school kids, but also elementary school kids. But we have one that, let's see here. There's one where you intentionally get your child to get hyped up. I'm trying to look for it. And again, this is all the activities are based on you knowing your child and what your child can handle or cannot handle, and we're assuming that you're going to be. I know the water one, we've gotten feedback like with because it is water activities in the bathtub, and obviously you need to know like what's appropriate and not appropriate with your child. But this one is really good because you use a warm bath and lavender scented oil. You're teaching your child how to calm themselves. You're going to intentionally get them hyper and then expect to help them. It's the key. You're going to help them to be calm for a period of time and see if they can get better at this game because this little creature lives in the water and they're very finicky and easily scared. So you don't want to scare them, and you're going to try to help your child to get them to stay around longer. And so I know it's been a while since I've actually played this game. You're going to have them like jump around for a little while, do some things to get the wiggles out, and then you're going to have them go into the bathtub and just lay down or sit still for 20 seconds. And if you know that they can't do it for 20 seconds, you're going to try to get them to lay down. And we're talking like only up to like, maybe it's the water's just barely covering their ears, not very far. And if they can't do that, you're just going to sit. And if you know they can't do it for 20 seconds, you're going to do it for 10 seconds or 5 seconds or whatever you think they can handle so that they're successful at it the first time. You're going to take to get them how to do that, okay? And then you're going to be taking, I forgot to say, you're already going to put some lavender oil in the bathtub. And so you're going to be taking some deep breaths.
One thing about lavender oil is it has seizures.
Right.
And
but the goal,
increase the risk of seizures.
But the goal is to, you can use any other scented oil that you wanted to, really. Just lavender is good. It has a calming effect also. Hey, Katie and Jennifer. This activity is so great because once they start, you're going to note that they need to be smelling that sweet smell, because if they're smelling the sweet smell, that means that they're seeing that creature must be around. So, do you have something?
Since we're talking about school, things that are more going to help them at school, one thing that you can help them learn at home, but that can be used in the classroom without others even noticing, is called the magic mustache. There's a pressure point right here that can be very calming. So if you teach them to make like a little mustache with their finger and press on that pressure point and slowly breathe and count in their head, that'll help them calm down. There's something called a chair push-up, where they just put their hands on the side of the chair and they lift their bottom up using their arms, pushing, and provide some sensory input and kind of regulate their emotions.
Right, and they're just like, and you can make games out of all of these. The ones Margie were talking about obviously are great for helping to get your kid to calm down in the classroom and to tell the teacher about, because of the pressure point there. It's easy for the teacher to know about that pressure point, and when you push against here for 10 seconds, coaching your kid through that. Again, jewelry we were talking about, that's a great, because of, what is it, the vestibular? What is it? Oral. Okay. So that the muscles here, using those are going to be great for helping to calm your child. So jewelry is great for tools for the teacher. And the thing I was talking about is just helpful for just having fun and bonding with your kid, but coaching them how to calm themselves and regulate themselves at home in preparation that maybe they won't need the activity to calm themselves at school eventually. So yeah, I actually posted that little pretend creature that we use at home. You guys can take a look at that with your kid if you want to. It's actually a lot of fun. And it actually has several therapeutic activities to go with it. So, right. What are some things that what else do you do with the teachers? What should you be telling the teacher? What should you not be telling the teacher? What is too much information to tell a teacher about your child's issues or behaviors or background.
I think we have to walk a fine line. I mean, some of it obviously is the child's story, and there's share. But one thing too to careful of is just helping. There can be a tendency to say these are all the issues, and not any focus on like these are the child's strengths.
Right. That's true. I think as caregivers especially, we get so wrapped up in what our child needs help with that we forget to tell the teacher, like, my child's really great at reading, or they're really good at sports. You should see this kid running.
Well, and the reality is a lot of times our children are heroes just because they've survived what they've been through. There are so many kids who've been through crazy things that adults couldn't even imagine. And, the reality is these kids are pretty darn amazing.
It's true. One thing I was thinking about, too, is coaching your child on what they can tell the class. Like, letting them know that they have permission to say, I don't want to talk about that. Or if someone does find out that they were in foster care or that they're adopted, just like permission that they can say, I don't feel like talking about that. Like, it's not something I'm comfortable with talking about right now. So, and they have that power. That's I think our kids, like, they don't have any power, and they have that power with their story. They can share with others what they want to.
And I know we mentioned it last book, the brownie. I'm totally going to blank on it. Had to do with a school project that has to do with sharing. Like,
I think it was called The Star. Let me take a look at it. But yeah, go ahead.
Brownie's in the name too.
Is it? Let me check it. I'm trying to find it. We'll see if
just helping kids to know, too, like they have choices if there's a school project and they have to share, like they're supposed to be sharing, like kind of like a little history of themselves, or drawing a picture of their family. They can decide, or am I going to draw my birth family? Am I going to draw my foster family? Am I going to draw my adoptive family? Am I going to draw all of them together? Giving them some decisions or choice. Or, and that's another important part of communicating with teachers, is there's certain projects that maybe a child should not have to be made to do.
Or at least alter them, or like have some options to go everyone else is doing. Teachers think about that all the time, that there might be
to like show your baby pictures, and then you can get creative. Like, they have the option of just going and picking out some random picture out of a magazine or off the internet, that they think might be how they might have looked. And
I never thought about that. Yeah, that is true. Or they could just like show. You're saying just go on the internet and
there's the book yet that I don't think anybody, or other of you or myself, have had a chance to get to it, but it's Becoming an Adoption-Friendly School, and I think it talks about some of these issues of from a school policy or a school, just I don't know, way the school operates, the culture of the school, making it a adoption-friendly place, where these kinds of things aren't going to be an issue.
I found that book. It's called Star of the Week.
There are brownies in the tag. Like,
I don't know. Hold on. So they have. Sorry, I'm trying to type it in, guys. It's a great book though. Like, it really. I think the child in it is Asian, and she's adopted, and she talks about not telling certain parts of her story. Christina on Facebook says, we dealt with one to where they talked about ancestry. That was difficult also. Yeah, because I can even think with our kids personally, like they wouldn't know exactly. I mean, I think we could guess, but unless you're going to spend money to do ancestry.com or something like that, you really don't know.
Well, just even like if they're doing DNA type stuff, they're trying to figure out what eye colors or hair colors of parents or grandparents or aunts or uncles or things like that, and trying to do recessive genes and that kind of stuff. There's a lot of doctors who don't, or, have access to that information.
Right, and that's something where I'm sure a teacher with that project would let you just do because they're just. I mean, it's guessing anyways, right? Like it's just the practice of doing recessive and dominant genes. So they probably just let you do the adoptive parents on that one. Oh, okay.
Especially if you're totally different race or something.
I don't know. I think that is good though that you need to ask a teacher about like how can you alter a project or do something different because your child's not going to be able to do it. And it's not going to be an easy task. And I think that opens up too that it's not going to be an easy task for your child, and it might bring up like some heartache too, right? Like,
right,
because they don't know things.
It can trigger behaviors at school or at home that could be potentially damaging.
I wonder how do you guys talk? How do you guys talk with your kids about those things? Because that is things that, I mean, that's not something that they're going to be able to avoid their whole life. We can't just go through life being like everyone else and stuff like that. Like all of us have to deal with the fact that we don't know things or there are things about our past or present that we're not proud of or we don't know or can't explain. Like, how do you walk your kids through that a little bit, I wonder? Like, I guess, where's the happy medium between tackling something like that together with your child and also protecting them at the same time? Like, when do you know that you should go to the teacher and say, we need to alter this project because it's going to really be rough for my kid? And when do you know that, well, we're not going to talk with the teacher, but we are going to talk, like, my child and I have to walk through this or figure this out or creatively think out, like you were talking, like go on the internet and find pictures of, well, this might have been you and this might have been what you look like. Like, because I feel like that's an outside of the box way of looking at it and then figuring out how people, like, how does your child feel about that and all that? I don't know. I'm curious about that. I would love to hear what people have to think about that. But we are getting to the last, we're getting till 10 till 5, and because we are from the road, my battery is running low, guys. Sorry about that. So I am going to have to sign off here. Oh, wait, we're still in Nashville, but hey, Christina. So we're going to wave.
We're not really in Nashville.
Oh, we didn't? Oh, sorry, we forgot to wave. That wave was for you. Let us know if you have any last minute, as we're getting ready to wrap up here. Do you guys have any last minute questions? Do you have any last minute suggestions? I saw so many.
The conversation will keep going after it's over, so I mean, we still watch it. So
even if you're not watching this live, people are still going to get this. Thanks to everyone that was popping in and out. I saw so many people that we know that just popped in and were able to sit here for a little bit and then pop back out again. Wanted to remind everyone that come September, we are going to be doing the caregiver check-in at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to give our West Coast friends more time to be able to get on here and join us. So definitely keep that in mind when September hits. Does that mean one more or two more check-ins? I think it's 2 more check-ins, right?
I don't know. I know next week we will still be on the road, so
we'll be on the road
with
more bags under our eyes. So like totally keep us going, you guys.
Unless we manage to get real early and get back home before 5, but
again, I know I've mentioned it a few times. I think it's really important, though, otherwise I wouldn't keep talking about it, is ARC Therapeutic. They have sensory tools that are going to be great for your kids to be successful at school. You can use the code TRANSFIG That's TRANSFIG, and then the number 20, Transfig20. Use that coupon code and you get 20% off big discounts like that. So definitely look at that at Arc Therapeutic. Find some sensory tools for your kids to take to school with them.
And we have a percentage of that as well.
It does help
transfiguring adoption.
It does help transfiguring adoption when you do that too. So it's a win for you, and it's a win for us, and it's a win for them. Everyone's winning. And remember the time change. And then, is there anything else that we needed to let people know about? Coming up, we will let you know that coming up in November, we are going to. Can I mention it now? Can this be where I break the news on this?
Sure.
So coming up, if a lot of you know about Chris Rankin, who played Percy Weasley in the Harry Potter movies, he is part of our volunteer mobilization, our ELF squad. He was also adopted himself. What we're doing is very near and dear to his heart. We just saw him over the weekend. Him and his girlfriend Ness are phenomenal. They are amazing. If you're not following them on social media, you need to be, because they're just amazing people. Chris has agreed to, coming in October, we're going to be opening up nominations for the best adoptive parent, and it's going to be worldwide. So you can get nominations no matter where you are in the world. You're going to be able to nominate. And then, like we do with our foster parent contest, we're going to be opening it up to Facebook and social media and our website for the public to vote on the stories to be able to say who is the best adoptive parent.
And it will be named the Chris Rankin Award.
It is the Chris Rankin Award. We wanted to do that because Chris is adopted, and he is making a major effort to make sure that you guys, adoptive and foster parents, are equipped and resourced. So we wanted to do him the honor of naming him. We're also going to be doing some other fun things with our ELF squad, our volunteer mobilization during that time. So be looking out for that. Oh no, Christina says she's not going to be here the next couple of weeks. She's tutoring during that time, so she'll be back when it's at 8. Woohoo! We'll see you when it goes back to 8 o'clock, Christina. So thank you so much, everyone, for watching. If you're watching it live, if you're not watching it live, thank you for watching. Please be sure to comment. Please be sure to go on our website and click on the button that tells us how we're doing. That actually helps us to get sponsors and to show potential donors how this is a resource that you need and want. Meaning all of Transfiguring Adoption. So be sure to go do that. You are doing more good than you know. Thank you for being a foster or adoptive parent. Thank you for checking in if you're a professional or someone that's just concerned. All of us together can make sure that our kids are succeeding and have a bright and better future, and that families are doing it with smiles on their faces. So thank you so much. We hope that we're helping you to nurture and grow your foster or adoptive family.